Detective, kind of going through, I want to get into one of the things you do is you try and get a statement from the defendant in any cases like this, correct?
Yes, I do.
Let the record reflect that I'm showing opposing counsel exhibits 37 and 38 of these exhibits. Detective, I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit 37 for identification purposes. Could you tell the jury what that is?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but 37's already been admitted.
I'm sorry, I thought we had 36.
37 was already admitted.
Okay. Now I got to go 38 and 39.
And 37 was training records / outline. What it was.
Okay. So let's try exhibit 38. Can you tell the jury what this is?
Yep, this is a typed written statement. It's 3 pages long. It's signed by Chris Schurr on April 15, 2022.
And how did you get this statement?
I requested through his defense. I believe Mr. Dodge facilitated getting this to my office.
Okay. And what you do is after you get this, you turn it over to our office as make it part of the case file, correct?
Yep, this becomes a part of my report.
And I'm going to show you exhibit 39. Could you tell the jury what this is?
Yep, after that original statement, I, along with my colleagues, had a couple of follow-up questions. I numbered those out. I believe it was 13 specific follow-up questions. Purely voluntary, but I reached back out to Mr. Dodge and I asked if Officer Schurr would be willing to answer these follow-up questions, which he did. So this is, again, typed answers to those questions, signed by Chris Schurr on May 13 of 2022. It's 3 pages.
And once again, you made those part of the file as well?
Yes, I did.
I move the admission appeals exhibits 38 and 39. No, you're not.
38 and 39 are now admitted.
And just to be clear, there was not during the interview, this was just typed
Correct.
at some point in time away from you.
Yes.
There's one final thing. Why is the state police investigating this? Happened in the city of Grand Rapids. Why is the state police on this?
Yeah, we have a formal agreement with the Grand Rapids Police Department. Again, I work for the Michigan State Police. And before my time and above my rank, formal agreement was made with the PD that if they had an officer-involved shooting, that our department goes and investigates those. So really, I was there on invitation based on a formal agreement that was in place ahead of time.
Thank you. Anything further?
Morning, Detective.
Morning, sir.
I just want to ask you some questions about the statement that was just admitted and the circumstances under which they were admitted, under which you obtained them. You touched briefly on this. Now, this was obviously a case that drew a lot of attention from the public. Is that fair?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you were among several detectives that were working on this case?
Yes.
Okay. And you recognize that Christopher Schurr was under no obligation to give a statement, right?
No, this is purely voluntary.
Okay. And if you, in a normal case, went out to talk to somebody and said, we would like to talk to you, if they said, we don't want to talk to you, then you can't force them to talk to you, right?
No, and that carries no weight with me, the response.
Okay, but you were doing this investigation, there's a lot going on, and you wanted to hear from him, and you reached out to his attorneys, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And by that point, he had Mr. Dodge as counsel, right?
Yes.
And I think you said that the first statement was in April 15th of 2022?
Yes.
And that's something that was signed by the defendant,
Yes.
but came through his attorneys?
Yes, it was.
Okay. That's not an interview you had with him shortly after the incident or anything like that?
No, there was no interview.
And in a case like this where there's a shooting, you actually give the officer some time to reflect anyway, right? Before you would try to interview them, right?
That's standard. That's typical.
Okay. So you don't pounce on them like right after the shooting and start asking them questions, right?
If they wanted to, I would not say no, but I've not had that experience with an officer before.
Okay. And then you got the statement, you asked some follow-up questions, and you actually wrote questions on the second statement that's dated May 13th. Is that fair?
Yes.
And again, it came through counsel, and to the best of the ability, you believe that you got some answers to the questions you had?
Yes.
Okay. But that's not everything that you might have wanted to ask Officer Schurr, right?
No, sometimes when I'm interviewing somebody, those interviews can go on for hours and hours and hours. This was, if I had to ask some pointing questions, it was a short list.
Okay. And so I think it's 13 questions. That's pales in comparison to the number of questions that he could be asked on, say, like cross-examination, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
Don't see any hands raised on the jury. You step down again.
You may, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. You may step down. Any additional?
No additional rebuttal, Your Honor.
All right, so I would like to take a break because looks like the evidence is complete, but we need to go over some things outside of your presence prior to closing arguments. And so I'm gonna ask you to go into the back and we'll take a 15-minute break right now. And meanwhile, even though all the evidence is finished, you're not deliberating yet, so I'm gonna ask you to still leave your notes and not discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else, and also continue to refrain from any news reports in the media and social media, and then we'll see you back in about 15 minutes.